That's a guy who's been in the fire. He's seen what it takes. He's executed those route concepts, those play-action setups, those tight window throws. Over the middle of the field, he knows exactly how narrow the margin for error is and when. He says that Purdy is already operating at a high level within that context. That's not small praise. What's striking is that Purdy is doing this all with a quiet confidence. He doesn't carry himself like a guy trying to prove people wrong every week. And yet that chip on his shoulder is clearly still there. You can feel it in the way he prepares, the way he talks to the media, the way his teammates rally around him. He doesn't try to be the loudest voice in the room. He just shows up, gets to work, and delivers results. That in itself is a form of leadership, and it's one that resonates with this locker room. Let's be honest, part of the resistance to Purdy, whether people want to admit it or not, comes from the fact that he wasn't supposed to be here. He was the last pick in the draft. He wasn't the 5-star recruit. He wasn't the golden-armed phenom with the big nil deal or the flashy pro day. He was just a guy who did his job at Iowa State, who processed the game quickly, who moved well in the pocket, who didn't turn the ball over much, and who managed to elevate a program that wasn't exactly overflowing with talent. And somehow, despite doing all of that, he was overlooked by every single team multiple times. So when he got his shot in San Francisco, people weren't prepared for what followed. They weren't ready for a 7th-rounder to come in and start slicing up NFL defenses. They weren't ready for the poise, the anticipation, the accuracy. And instead of adjusting their expectations, some people just doubled down on the skepticism. They started looking for reasons why it couldn't last. They pointed to the supporting cast, to Shanahan's system, to the playmakers around him. And look, it's fair to acknowledge that Purdy is surrounded by elite talent. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, these are Alpha-level guys. Trent Williams protecting the blind side. That's a luxury few quarterbacks ever get. But here's the thing that people miss: talent around you doesn't guarantee success. We've seen plenty of quarterbacks who couldn't take advantage of great supporting casts. Quarterbacks who had top 5 defenses and elite weapons and still couldn't get it done because they couldn't process fast enough or make the throws when it mattered. So let's not pretend that just anyone could step into this role and do what Purdy has done, because history says that's simply not true. What makes Purdy unique is how seamlessly he fits into what Shanahan wants to do and how quickly he got up to speed. Most young quarterbacks struggle in this system. They take a year or two to learn the language, to feel comfortable making the full field reads, to understand the timing of the routes and the discipline required on bootlegs and RPOs. Purdy showed up, got thrown into the fire, and didn't just survive. He excelled. He elevated the offense. He opened up parts of the playbook that had been collecting dust. Shanahan, a coach who has been historically conservative with young quarterbacks, started calling plays like he trusted this kid. And that says everything you need to know. So when we talk about clutch, we've got to redefine what that means. Because sure, it's great when a guy throws a walk-off touchdown with zeros on the clock. But clutch isn't just about the final play. It's about the totality of performance in high-leverage situations. It's about 3rd and 8 with the game in the balance. It's about making the right read on a blitz pickup. It's about converting a red zone trip into 7 points instead of 3. It's about knowing when to throw the ball away instead of forcing something. And by those standards, Purdy has already demonstrated that he's built for the moment. Take a look how he performs under pressure. The analytics back it up. He's consistently been one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. When the pocket collapses, he doesn't flinch. He resets his feet. He keeps his eyes downfield. And that's rare for a guy with less than the full seasons of starting experience. You want to talk about poise? That's poise. That's not something you can coach. That's something that comes from deep belief in your preparation and your process. And what about leadership? Because that's a piece of the puzzle that gets overlooked too often. This locker room believes in Brock Purdy. You can see it in the way they talk about him, the way Trent Williams calls him a baller, the way Kittle defends him in every interview, the way McCaffrey lights up when he's asked about their chemistry. These guys aren't just giving lip service. They've been around the league. They've played with good quarterbacks and average quarterbacks. They know the difference. And they believe that Purdy is the guy who can take them where they want to go. And honestly, how could they not look at the track record? He's 215. As a starter, he's taken them to the NFC Championship twice and came a whisper away from winning it all last season. He's made the Pro Bowl. He finished top 5 in MVP voting. These aren't empty accomplishments. These are milestones that most young quarterbacks dream about, and he's hitting them while still on his rookie deal. And that brings us to the future, because now the conversation shifts. It's no longer can he do it, we've seen enough to know that he can. Now it's about how far can he take this, and more importantly, how do the 49ers build around him going forward? Because the scary part for the rest of the league is this: he's only getting better. He's not plateauing, he's growing. His understanding of coverages is sharper. His timing is more refined. His comfort level in the offense is expanding. Every offseason rep is just adding more tools to his toolkit, which is why this upcoming season feels so pivotal. The offense is stable. The coaching staff is intact. The core playmakers are healthy. The offensive line, while not perfect, is still anchored by a future Hall of Famer. This is the window. This is the time. And with Purdy at the helm, the 49ers are not just contenders, they're legitimate favorites. Not because he's flashy, but because he's efficient. Not because he's the loudest, but because he's the most composed. That's the blueprint for winning football in January and February. And let's not forget the financial piece of this. While he's still on a rookie deal, the 49ers have a rare opportunity to stack the deck, to add depth, to pay key veterans, to make aggressive moves at the trade deadline. This is the model that worked for teams like the Seahawks with Russell Wilson early on, or the Chiefs before Mahomes reset the market, and the front office knows it. They're pushing chips into the middle of the table because they believe in Purdy, just like the locker room does, just like the coaching staff does. So when I hear people question whether he's clutch, I just shake my head, because they're missing what's right in front of them. This isn't about late-game touchdown stats. This is about command, control, confidence, and a deep, unshakable belief that when the moment gets big, your quarterback won't shrink. He might not scream, he might not flex, but he'll step to the line, read the defense, and make the right play. And in the end, that's what matters most. Let me know your thoughts. I'm here for the dialogue. If you've got doubts, bring them. If you're a Lynn on Brock, I want to hear that too. But either way, get ready. Because if you think Purdy has already peaked, you're in for a surprise. He's just getting started. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be one of the most intriguing moves of the offseason, there's growing buzz around the league that defensive lineman ALFRED has signed a $12 million deal with the San Francisco 49ers. While no official confirmation has been made by the team or the players' representatives, sources close to the situation suggest the agreement is all but finalized. Whispers began circulating earlier this week when Collins was spotted in the Bay Area, reportedly attending a private meeting with 49ers brass. Add to that his recent cryptic social media activity, most notably a post with a red and gold emoji, and speculation has gone into overdrive. NFL insiders are cautiously treating the news as credible, though some caution that final details could still be in flux. Collins, known for his explosive power and versatility on the line, has long been considered a high-upside talent. After a standout college career, he entered the pro scene with high expectations, though his development has been a mix of flashes and frustration. A move to a team like San Francisco, renowned for its defensive culture and coaching staff, could be the catalyst he needs to realize his full potential. If the deal does go through, it signals a bold statement of intent from the 49ers front office. With a stacked defensive unit already in place, adding Collins could bolster their depth and inject new energy into a pass rush that has at times relied heavily on its stars. The reported $12 million figure suggests the Niners believe Collins is ready to make an impact. And soon. For now, fans will have to wait for an official announcement. But if the rumors prove true, the 49ers might have just pulled off a quiet coup that could make a lot of noise come game day. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. The San Francisco 49ers just got a boost from an unexpected place, and I want to talk to you about it in this video. But before I dive into that, I've got a question for you, and I want you to really think about this one. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content, but here's what I want to know. Are you concerned about Brock Purdy's ability to finish when it matters most? I'm not talking about general performance here. I'm talking about the final moments of tight games, those situations where it's all on the line, the clock is winding down and every snap counts. That clutch gene, as people like to call it. Because based on what I've been seeing floating around on social media, this concern is gaining traction. People are starting to ask the hard questions. There's a stat that's been making the rounds lately, and I think it's worth addressing head-on. The stat says that Brock Purdy has never thrown a touchdown in the final 5 minutes of a game, when trailing by one score or in a one-score game. Now, at first glance, that sounds pretty damning, right? That sounds like the kind of stat you throw around when you're trying to argue that a quarterback doesn't have that closer gene, that he can't deliver when it matters most. But I want to challenge that. I want to give you a different perspective because I don't think that stat tells the full story. In fact, I think it's a pretty misleading way to frame what Purdy has done in his still young NFL career. Let's start with the most obvious point: the sample size. You've got to understand that we're talking about a guy who didn't even become the starter until midway through the 2020 season. That was the year everything clicked. Christian McCaffrey had finally been fully integrated into the offense. The team was humming. That wasn't the kind of season where they were constantly playing from behind. In fact, the 49ers were often in control of games, dominating both sides of the ball. So naturally, the number of opportunities Purdy had to engineer game-winning drives in the final minutes was limited. Then in 2023, outside of a brief mid-season skid, those 3 straight losses, that had everyone panicking for about 15 minutes. The offense continued to fire on all cylinders. That season, statistically speaking, was historic. We're talking about a team that was ranked top 5 in nearly every offensive category, and a quarterback who was among the league leaders in passer rating, yards per attempt, completion percentage, you name it. So if you're looking at Purdy's resume and asking why there aren't more clutch time heroics, part of the answer is that he hasn't been in many situations that required them. And when he has been in those situations, the outcomes haven't always hinged on his performance or lack thereof. Some of those games were lost because of defensive breakdowns, others because of dropped passes, special teams blunders, penalties. It's football. It's rarely ever just one guy's fault. Now let's be clear, I'm not giving Brock Purdy a free pass here. He has made some mistakes late in games. There have been a few picks, a couple of questionable decisions under pressure. And yes, you want to see your quarterback rise above those moments, but you also have to acknowledge the good with the bad. He's also led multiple late drives that were efficient, composed, and effective drives that stalled because of factors outside his control. And if you go back and watch those games with an unbiased eye, you'll see that. You'll see a young quarterback staying poised in the pocket, making the right reads, delivering catchable balls, some of which simply weren't caught. So no, I'm not concerned, not in the way some people seem to be. I think Purdy has already proven that he has what it takes to win in this league. He's shown that he can command the offense, read defenses quickly, and execute Shanahan's system with precision. And more importantly, he doesn't try to be the hero when it's not necessary. That's a huge point in his favor. Some young quarterbacks, when faced with late-game pressure, try to play Superman. They start forcing throws, abandoning the scheme, trying to do too much. That's how you lose games. That's how you end up on highlight reels for all the wrong reasons. Purdy, for the most part, has avoided that. He's stayed within the structure of the offense, made smart decisions, and taken what the defense gives him. That's the kind of quarterback I want leading my team in big moments. But let me be even more specific about why I'm not worried. There's a tendency to judge quarterbacks based on results without context. So when you say he hasn't scored a touchdown in the final 5 minutes of a close game, what are you really saying? Are you saying he hasn't moved the ball? Are you saying he's panicked under pressure? Are you saying the offense has looked dysfunctional in those moments? Because if you actually watch the tape, none of that is true. He's executed in those moments. The offense has moved. They've gotten into position. Sometimes the defense just makes a play. Sometimes a teammate drops the ball. Sometimes a field goal wins it instead of a touchdown. But you can't measure clutch strictly by whether or not a guy has a red zone TD on the stat sheet in the final minutes. Football is more complex than that. What's more, you have to understand how rare it is for quarterbacks to consistently deliver in those exact moments. The list of guys who routinely lead game-winning touchdown drives in the final minutes is short. We remember them because it's rare. And even the best of them, Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, they've all failed in those situations too. The point is, being clutch isn't just about the last 5 minutes. It's about how you perform throughout the game. It's about whether you put your team in a position to win, and Purdy does that week after week. Still, I understand why this narrative has taken hold. Part of it is the expectations. Purdy wasn't just good for a 7th-round pick, he was good, period. So now people are watching him like a hawk. Every mistake is magnified. Every missed opportunity becomes a headline. That's the nature of being the starting quarterback for a team like the 49ers. The standard is high and the fan base is passionate. That comes with the territory. But it's important not to lose sight of the bigger picture. This guy has been one of the most efficient, composed, and accurate quarterbacks in the league since he took over the job. That's not a fluke. That's not luck. That's talent, preparation, and hard work. And you know who else sees that? Former NFL MVP Matt Ryan. In a recent interview with Matt Mayoko at the American Century Championship in Lake Tahoe, Ryan, who knows Shanahan's system better than almost anyone, had nothing but praise for Brock Purdy. He talked about Purdy's ability to throw over the middle, his mobility, his accuracy on the run. He said Purdy's skill set is a perfect match for what Shanahan wants from his quarterback. And he didn't stop there. He went on to say that Purdy has already shown he can be poised in 2-minute situations and on critical third downs, coming from a guy who took Shanahan's offense all the way to the Super Bowl. That carries weight. That kind of endorsement matters because Ryan understands how demanding Shanahan's system is. He knows the mental processing required, the timing, the anticipation, the quick decision-making. And he sees all of that in Purdy. That should tell you something. Because Matt Ryan has no reason to hype this kid up. He's not a teammate. He's not a coach. He's a retired player giving his honest assessment. And his assessment is that Purdy is exactly the kind of quarterback who can thrive in San Francisco's offense. So when I hear people nitpicking Purdy's clutchness, I have to laugh a little. Because they're missing the forest for the trees. They're so fixated on one narrow stat that they're ignoring the bigger picture. They're ignoring the context. They're ignoring the growth. They're ignoring the fact that he's doing all of this as one of the youngest starting quarterbacks in the league with a chip on his shoulder, the size of Levi Stadium. So again, no, I'm not concerned. And if you are, that's okay, healthy debate is part of being a fan. But I would encourage you to look deeper. Watch the film. Look beyond the box score. Understand what's being asked of this guy and how consistently he's delivered. He's not perfect, but no quarterback is. What he is, though, is calm under pressure, confident in the pocket, and committed to playing within the scheme. And that, more than any last-minute touchdown stat, is what wins football games. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you still have concerns, I want to hear them. Let's talk about it. That's what makes this community great. But as for me, I'm riding with Brock Purdy, not just because I believe in him, but because he's already shown us what he's capable of, and he's just getting started. Picking up from where we left off, the discussion around Brock Purdy can't just stop at whether or not he's clutch. That's the surface-level stuff. The deeper conversation, the one we need to be having, is about whether he's built for sustained success in this system and in this organization. Because when you think about what Kyle Shanahan asks of his quarterbacks, it's not easy. This isn't the plug-and-play offense like some people like to pretend it is. This is a high-discipline scheme that requires sharp timing, anticipation, and precision under pressure. It's structured in a way that makes things look easy when it's working. But that illusion falls apart if the quarterback doesn't execute the mechanics flawlessly. That's why hearing someone like Matt Ryan, who operated within this exact structure at an MVP level, praise Brock Purdy the way he did it, matters more than people realize. When Ryan says that Purdy reminds him of what worked during his peak in Atlanta, that's not just idle talk.